we're going to be talking about Sword. So we're going to try to go deep into Sword, and Cirrus, I want you to kind of basically, if I go like super off book and you're like, I don't understand anything you said, to kind of bring it back in and try to be like, all right, how do you explain that in human people terms? I'm going to go over some kind of general terminology that you can use and understand. So first off is going to be frames. Every game, it's mostly useful for fighting games more than other games. Brawlhalla runs at 60 frames per second, and the reason that is important is because moves use frames to understand how long things will happen, right? A move has 3 parts. It has its startup frames, its active frames, and its recovery frames. Startup is the time before a hitbox comes out. It's the time where the move is starting up.
Right.
Active frames is the time where the move is active. That's the time where if something runs into it, it gets hit. Recovery frames are when a move is finished, like the hitbox is done, but it's coming back in and you can't do other moves. Powers viewer, and you can see that's a hitbox right here. These are a series of hitboxes. You can even show the hitbox info, which shows kind of just the general size of it. And you see right there, 5 startup frames on that.
And this is available to everybody in training mode.
If you go into training mode, you can open this up and you can look at all this information. Powers viewer, very handy. Force is broken down into 2 parts. There's fixed and then variable force. And you'll see that in patch notes on balance changes. Fixed is basically it's always going to have that much force to start, and then the variable force is added on top of that. Some moves have a lot of variable force, which means that they're going to send further depending on how damaged the character is. Some have very low variable force, which means they're not going to send as far. Same amount of knockback. That's because there's no variable force on it. Conversely, Sword Neutral Ant has variable force, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so it'll send them flying.
Okay, so definitely wait until you get a little bit closer.
Well, it depends, right? Because what's interesting about Sword is, let's see, each of these hitboxes works differently. So if you hit straight on with this front one, send straight down. If you hit with these outer ones, it'll send them a little bit off more. We'll see if we can get that to work here. All right, see straight up and down. And a little bit to the side with that. See, that's a true combo right there. It's down light into side air.
Side air, okay.
Down light into side air. Very useful. I'm not getting it true. You'll see the damage, yeah. When it says 4 hits, that's when I'm doing it, right? 4 hits, 24. And that's true basically throughout. We'll get it up to 200.
Because there's not a lot of variable force.
Exactly. You're picking up. You're learning. The one thing that I like, and the one thing that I talked to Eric, who is the combat designer for Brawlhalla, and I asked him what are some things that he wants specifically noted about Sword. And one of the things he talked about was different follow-ups out of Sword downlight, right? So so I told you that Sword downlight side air, that's true. You could basically do that through and through and you'll be fine. But there's more that you can do with Sword that isn't necessarily true, but might be more valuable. And I'm talking about Sword downlight into dare. Downlight sets up for these edge guards, right? It is a manageable amount that you can go for follow-ups of sorts. It's just got a lot of stuff that you can do with it. You can do kind of more with it. It's kind of a trade-off, right? If you want consistent damage, downlight side air, you'll be fine. You can just keep doing downlight side air, you'll be fine. But if you want a bigger burst of damage, maybe you got their dodge, like you caught their dodge and it's on cooldown. Maybe maybe you just are behind and you want to catch up in damage, you can go for your downlight down air. But basically, it's important to have different options with your edge guard. You don't want to just solely rely on side air, solely rely on dares only. You want to be able to mix it up, because the whole point of an edge guard is to just like catch them off guard, right? It's not necessarily that you're just going to be building up this damage and just insta kill them. It's more about covering their options, beating them out, and then they'll just burn themselves out on the edge, and you just stay in the stronger position. A really good tool, I showed you last week, dash jumps a little bit, right? So you can cancel your dash into a jump. Well, you can dash jump near, and because it's got that giant crescent, then suddenly you're catching them with that and hopefully timing it better than I am. And the last thing that he wanted to talk about, which it's a little bit harder to say specifically, but just kind of different ways to inject signatures into the sword kit. Different ways to use signatures. A lot of them, like Sword Neutralite's a really good one to follow up with, right? Sword Neutralite always sends them straight forward, so you can kind of go for that. Obviously, they're going to dodge to some degree. So Spear has a better range priority, so you're going to try to focus on outranging Sword. If you try to go close against Sword, Sword's got the better speed and close range options. Okay. Conversely, say you're playing Gauntlets, say you're playing Katars. Katars are better at close range than Sword. But if the sword user decides to try to just range you out with sword side air, suddenly you're not able to get in, right? Yeah. So it's kind of like you have to beat sword at your game. You can't beat sword at whatever the sword player is trying to do. So if you let them take control of the match and they're like, hey, you're playing Katars, I'm gonna just outrange you. Hey, you're playing Hammer, I'm gonna try to just get in on top of you. You have to like kind of not let them play their game. Yeah. That is very complicated. The short of it is that if your character's feet are on a platform, you can get the downward attack, right? So this is a normal moving onto the platform. See how there's a little bit of lag as I cross over the platform? That's a ledge canceled one. Comes out, you get that hitbox out a little quickly. Whoopsies. So normal, ledge canceled. Huh. Do you see the difference?
Yeah.
So you'll see. Come over here. Go over there. You'll see good sword players, like I said, do what I'm about to fail to do, which is ledge cancel it like that. See? I got it once. There you go. Yeah. So they'll ledge cancel it. They'll even go for like turnaround ledge cancels. Like